Hi, Kipsters. So this video is going to review what we've been spending some time on over the past week or so, and that's multiplying fractions and whole numbers. But first, to be clear, the first thing we did was actually multiply a whole number times a fraction. And we talked about a couple of different ways to do that. Let's use one example. Let's take 4 times 2/3. And I want you to try to remember what that means. If you have 4 times 2/3, just whisper to yourself, what do you think that means? 4 groups of 2/3. Okay, so anytime you see that multiplication sign, I want you to think of the phrase groups of. So when I say multiplication, say groups of. Multiplication? All right, thanks. So, first thing, one way to solve this problem, 4 times 2/3, is to use repeated addition. If you have 4 groups of 2/3, you can think of it like this: 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3. That's it. By the way, what does that equal? You can call it out. Yeah, that's 8/3. Some denominators, and then we add 2, 2, 2, and 2. That'll give you 8/3. So 4 times 2/3 is 8/3. That's one way to do it, repeated addition. Another way, the number line. So here we have a number line. What do you think? Don't call it out yet. What do you think we're going to count by if we're doing 4 times 2/3? Okay, call it out now. You're right, we're going to count by 2/3. All right, so after 2/3, call out what's going to come next, and then next, and then one more time. We stop there because we did it 4 times. So once again, 4 times 2/3 gives you 8/3 using a number line. Last way, my personal favorite, is the area model. With 4 times 2/3, we're looking at 4 wholes, and then what number do you think should go in here? Go ahead, call it out. That's right, 4. And then we're multiplying 4 times what again? 2/3. So we have to figure out where 2/3 down this vertical side of the one whole would be. Okay, there you go. So 2/3 would be right about there. Okay, we draw our lines all the way across, and then we're going to start filling in these spaces in here. What fraction, don't call it out yet, but what fraction am I going to put in this space here? Okay, now call it out. Yep, you're right. It's 1/3, and then we fill the rest of that area in with 1/3. Just like that. So, if you count how many thirds I have all together, well, how many thirds do I have? Call it out. That's right. Once again, no matter what way you do it, it's 8/3. So, to review, there are 3 different strategies you can use if you have a whole number times a fraction. There are some others we're going to talk about, but the 3 we just went over, why don't you whisper to your neighbor those 3 now? See if you can remember. Okay, did you get this one? Repeated addition. And then what was the one we did after that? That's right, the number line. And then finally, the one we just went over, my favorite, the area model. All right, so that's whole number times a fraction. But what about if we flip it and do a fraction times a whole number? I use the same numbers, I just flipped it. Flippity flip. 2/3 times 4. Fraction times whole number. Okay, so if you remember from before, we said that when we say the word multiply, we think of groups of. So if I say 2/3 groups of 4, now that just sounds super confusing. I mean, 2/3 groups of 4 doesn't make much sense. But do you remember what mathematicians do to fix that problem? What word? Go ahead, call it out. What word do they get rid of? Yeah, they get rid of the word groups, which just makes it 2/3 of 4. And that makes a little more sense. Now, with 2/3 of 4, there are a couple different strategies we've used over the past couple days to figure that out. The first one is the area model. But the area model looks different when it's 2/3 times 4. In fact, it looks flipped like that. Now, can you tell me what numbers should go in this space here? Yep, that's right, it's a 4. And just like the flipped one from before, we're doing it times 2/3. 2/3 will be right there. We extend our lines all the way down like that, and we start filling in the spaces just like before. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. It's the same exact thing as before. How many 1/3s do we have? Yep, you're right again. It's 8/3. 2/3 times 4, and once again, we get a product of 8/3. Now, yesterday, we talked about doing it not just with the area model, but on a number line, and this was super tricky. So let me show you a number line right now. All right, 0. If I'm trying to find 2/3 of 4, what number should I put on the other side of the number line? Go ahead, call it out. 4, that's right. Now, if I'm trying to find 2/3 of 4, don't call this out, just wait till I'm done. 2/3 of 4, how many pieces am I going to cut this number line into? Okay, call it out. Yeah, it's 3 equal pieces. And if you can't see it, that's 1, 2, 3 equal pieces. And point to where 2/3 would be. Go ahead, point now. Did you point there? That's right. Now, for the big question, watch my arrow on this screen. Now, if I have something that is 4, let's say 4 feet long, and I cut it into 3 equal pieces, what is going to end up in this space right here? Don't call it out yet, just think. Something that's a length of 4 cut into 3 pieces. We talked about this yesterday. It's 4/3. Okay, think about it. That's the definition of what 4/3 means. Something that's a length of 4 cut into 3 pieces. Now, if you know that this is 4/3, what's that one over there? That's right, it's 8/3. And then if you keep going, that would be 12/3. And then you know you're right because you know that 12 divided by 3 makes 4. So once again, even with the number line, we get the product 2/3 of 4 is 8/3. Okay, don't worry about changing it into a mixed number. Just keep this strategy in mind. So for fraction times a whole number, we only had 2 ways so far. The first one was that number line, which we just did, and the second one was the area model. Okay, so that's a review of what we've done so far. But I did want to say one more important point, and that's this. 2/3 times 4 gives you the same as 4 times 2/3. You heard me say throughout this whole video, 8/3, 8/3, 8/3. All the answers were 8/3. So it doesn't matter if you change the numbers from side to side. And one way of writing that is A times B is the same as B times A. Different numbers, you change the order, and you multiply them together. You will get the same product if you reverse those factors. And that is a very important property that we haven't talked about much this year. Raise your hand if you think you know what it is. Yeah, you might have been taught it last year. It's actually called the commutative property of multiplication. Say that after me, commutative property of multiplication. Great. That property shows, and it's going to be super important for today's lesson, that you can reverse the order of the factors and still get the same product. Okay, great job, Kipsters. As always, thank you for listening.